Genghis Khan, also known as Temujin, was the founder and leader of the Mongol Empire in the 13th century. He was a skilled military strategist and united various nomadic tribes into a formidable force known as the Mongol cavalry. His cavalry army was highly mobile and adept at horseback warfare, utilizing swift and coordinated attacks to conquer vast territories across Asia and Europe. Welcome to Oriental Frames. Thank you for your watching and subscribing. At the age of 9, Temujin was picking out his future wife. His father had already taught him that the bride must have a fair and plump face, wider and more spiritual than a lake, and small eyes. Most importantly, her legs must be sturdy because only with these features in a bride, the man will be doubly happy when he brings her home. Soon, Temujin set his eyes on the girl before him. The girl was also very willing, and they exchanged tokens of love, agreeing to get married 5 years later. This should have been a joyful event, but Temujin's father was full of disappointment. He had intended to form a marriage alliance with the powerful Merkit tribe, but to his surprise, his son chose a girl from the weakest tribe. Unbeknownst to the father, this girl would turn out to be a pivotal character in Temujin's subsequent consolidation of vast territories. On their return journey to the tribe, they came across their sworn enemy, the Tatar tribe. However, Temujin's father remained unruffled. The laws of the steppe dictated that no tribe could engage in hostilities within designated rest areas. During their encounter, they were offered a bowl of fermented mare's milk. The father's men suggested having a slave taste it first for poison, but the father waved them off. He reminded Temujin that they must never transgress the customs of the steppe, and he drained the bowl in a single gulp, right before Temujin's eyes. His underestimation of the adversary's cunning cost him dearly. The poison began to work its nefarious magic en route, and he gradually lost consciousness. In a tragic turn of events, he fell from his horse and succumbed to the poison. His obstinate nature had cost a great Khan his life. The passing of the father elicited a wicked smirk from Targatai, one of his subordinates. Not wasting a beat, Temujin responded with a resounding slap across Targatai's face. Even though he bore the demeanor of a Khan, he was merely 9 years old. Soon, Targatai began to rebel. He had long harbored intentions of betrayal, seeking to claim the tribe for his own. His first course of action was to eliminate Temujin, to eradicate future threats. Under his rule, the tribe was fraught with unease and the people suffered. Fortunately, the steppe law prohibited the execution of children shorter than the height of a cartwheel. Although Targatai was seething with frustration, he couldn't break the rules in plain sight. So, he decided to kill Temujin after the winter. Despite narrowly escaping his fate, the sight of his tribe's plight ignited a resolve in him to make Targatai pay in blood. Winter soon arrived and he had to continuously evade his enemies. At one point, he was running over an ice-covered lake when the ice suddenly cracked, and he plunged into the water. When he regained consciousness, he had been saved by another boy of his age. They instantly connected and, emulating the adults, made a pact of brotherhood by tasting each other's blood. These two boys would go on to become the Khans of the two most powerful tribes on the steppe. Point one day, Targatai's men discovered Temujin's whereabouts and captured him with ease. Ironically, due to his poor diet and lack of sleep, Temujin's height still hadn't exceeded that of a cartwheel. Targatai ordered his men to feed Temujin generously with meat and fish, hoping to accelerate his growth past the cartwheel height. The slave who fed Temujin daily had once been the recipient of his father's kindness, and so he took special care of Temujin, even helping him escape when no one was watching. Next, Temujin had to journey to a place called the Sacred Mountain. His father had once told him about the miraculous power of praying at the Sacred Mountain. He immediately prayed to the altar for protection and the power to overthrow the rule of the rebels. It seemed like the celestial gods had indeed descended. A white wolf appeared above the altar. Its sharp, piercing gaze seemed to see through all future events. His shackles were also taken away. After a long time, Temujin had come of age, but he still had to keep evading the hunters from his tribe. Alone on the steppe, he could never escape Targatai's control and was eventually hauled back to the tribe like an animal. Targatai was taken aback by the sight of Temujin's kingly demeanor. In front of his men, he felt his reputation crumble. He didn't plan on killing Temujin outright. Instead, he planned to torture him to death bit by bit. The same old slave who used to bring him food appeared again. Despite Temujin's current state of distress, the old man remained deferential. When the night fell and only one guard was left awake, Temujin seized his chance. He used his shackles to bludgeon the guard to death. But he hadn't run far before he was caught. The guard drew his knife to slash him, but he only managed to cut off Temujin's shackles. The man was once a loyal follower of his father, but now he didn't have the power to overthrow Targatai's rule. He gave Temujin a horse and told him to ride off into the distance. At this point, Temujin could no longer tolerate Targatai's tyranny. He made up his mind to reclaim what belonged to him. His first step in his plan was to find the wife he was betrothed to as a child. Although Temujin had nothing now, his father-in-law still happily agreed to the marriage. His mother-in-law personally bestowed a family heirloom on his wife. Soon, the Merkit tribe sought revenge. Because Temujin had not chosen their daughter, they planned to abduct his current wife as retribution. The number of pursuers behind them grew. After running all night, Temujin was accidentally shot with an arrow. In order to buy time for Temujin, his wife decided to let him go first. To turn defeat into victory, he must first conserve his strength. Because she knew the enemy only wanted to capture her. He knew that he couldn't save his wife alone, so he went to find the sworn brother from his childhood. Upon their meeting, he gifted a very precious mink coat. Jamukha decided to stand up for his good brother. They agreed to march after the spring, which would be more appropriate. No sooner had they stepped foot into enemy territory, the battle-hardened Jamukha smelled danger, and indeed they fell into the enemy's ambush. Jamukha fought bravely but still found himself in peril, quickly using his shield to block. Fortunately, Temujin arrived in time to save his sworn brother's life. However, the Merkit soldiers were too formidable. Before long, they suffered heavy casualties. In the midst of the chaos, Temujin chose to directly raid the enemy's main camp. Since the guards were all old, weak, and ill, he fought his way into the place where his wife was held captive. Seeing that his wife was pregnant, he held her and smiled with relief. At this time, Jamukha also arrived in the yurt. Although Jamukha remained silent, he believed in his heart that Temujin was still too naive. This child would be Joki, who later became the root cause of the split and disputes over succession in the Mongol Empire. That night, they divided the spoils of the Merkit. Jamukha took a large portion, while Temujin only got a tenth. Yet, he was still willing to share all his spoils with his subordinates and the families of the deceased, which moved everyone immensely. This played a significant role in his later unification of the grasslands. Jamukha wanted his brother to stay and band together for warmth. But Temujin refused, he just wanted to retrieve his wife. There wasn't much Jamukha could say to this. One early morning, his wife said something to him. His wife's reminder served as an instant wake-up call for Temujin. When Jamukha awoke, he found that Temujin and his wife had already departed, and accompanying them were two of his own loyal lieutenants. They left because they believed that Temujin was the true leader. Jamukha caught up with Temujin and asked him why he had left without bidding farewell. In a nutshell, the once close brothers, Temujin and Jamukha, found themselves estranged when Jamukha decided to part ways with Temujin. After enjoying several years of peaceful life, a turning point came when Temujin's men shot and killed a horse thief, who turned out to be Jamukha's own brother. This tragic event intensified the animosity between Temujin and Jamukha. Aware of the brewing conflict, they chose not to bring trouble to Temujin's doorstep and offered to compensate with his own life. Amidst this challenging situation, Temujin's wife once again came to him. This is the test of a great leader, requiring essential qualities. It woke Temujin up once again, but it also meant that he and Jamukha had become sworn enemies. Not long after, Jamukha led a massive army to attack. Faced with an enemy force 20 times larger than his own, Temujin found himself at a loss once more. In this dire situation, his wife suggested leaving behind the elderly, weak, and sick in the tribe and withdrawing to preserve their strength. But Temujin rejected this idea, as he would never abandon any of his children, and his wife didn't object to his decision. As he gazed at the countless enemy troops in the distance, Temujin's resolve became a crucial factor in his quest to dominate the grasslands. His warriors were deeply inspired by his bravery, and their morale remained remarkably high, with their hearts united. Confronted with the vast and overwhelming enemy army, they bravely fought against 3 times their number, successfully holding off the enemy's assaults for a considerable time. However, due to the sheer size of the enemy forces, Temujin's army eventually suffered defeat and he found himself surrounded, possibly due to the remnants of their past brotherly bond. Rather than directly killing Temujin, Jamukha chose to exile him. As a consequence, Temujin was reduced to a slave, becoming a tool for others to be auctioned off. Indeed, the slave who was displayed with a price tag was none other than the future formidable conqueror and Khan of the grasslands, Genghis Khan. At this moment, a nearby monk warned, "You must never buy this slave, or you will bring upon yourself great calamity." However, the wealthy man ignored the advice and insisted on acquiring him, curious to uncover the secret hidden within this peculiar slave. The wealthy man looked at Temujin but was intimidated by his fierce gaze. A slave shouldn't have such temperament. Nonetheless, the rich man bought him and subjected him to torment. He confined Temujin in a dog cage, surrounded by guards, while ferocious dogs roamed freely outside. The rich man even purposely built a drawbridge to facilitate his observation. The Xia people also denied him food. Despite enduring this series of humiliations, Temujin remained undeterred, focused solely on survival, stronger than anything else. He crafted a trap and, when pigeons flew into it, he chose to eat them raw to stave off hunger. This scene invited mockery from the nobles, yet Temujin remained unaffected. To him, they were like clowns trapped outside a cage, and the only one who understood it all was the monk. The monk earnestly implored Temujin that when he led his troops to invade Xia, to spare the temple there and not to destroy it. Despite the monk not giving Temujin the key, he promised to deliver the object to Temujin's wife. So the old monk embarked on a journey alone, traversing the vast desert, which quickly took a toll on his body. Eventually, he died in that desert. Perhaps it was fate's design. Not long after, Temujin's wife found the object. Instantly realizing that Temujin was still alive, she stopped a passing caravan and offered herself in exchange for bringing her to where Temujin was held captive. Seeing her husband endure so much hardship, her heart felt as if a million ants were gnawing at it. She spent all her family's wealth, bribing the guards who readily agreed. Under the cover of darkness, they made a daring escape, laying the groundwork for Temujin's future dominance of the grasslands. On the journey, as Temujin looked at the face of their newborn child, he instantly understood the sacrifices his wife had made. Despite all the hardships she had endured, Temujin gladly accepted and said,
Mongol.
In the following years, the family of 4 enjoyed a peaceful and happy life. However, the once majestic grasslands had been ravaged by the constant warfare among the Mongolian tribes, turning it into a living hell. Temujin returned to the sacred altar to pray for divine strength. After enduring years of wandering, he knew that to establish stability, he needed to unify the entire Mongolian region and build a new kingdom. Through years of struggle and strict military discipline, he had grown a large and formidable army, making him the greatest threat to Jamukha. This final battle between them was the last chance to unify Mongolia, and both aspired to become the Khan of the grasslands. Jamukha's forces outnumbered Temujin's by more than double, but Temujin remained composed. Witnessing this, Jamukha dispatched his first battalion, consisting of several thousand soldiers. In his strategic first move, Temujin assigned 50 riders, all condemned criminals, facing imminent death. They formed a formation, their hands wielding long knives like the fangs of fierce tigers, and charged straight into the enemy's ranks. The merciless blades on both sides reaped the lives of their opponents. With just a few dozen men, they routed the enemy's army of several thousand, leaving only 6 survivors after breaking through the enemy's encirclement. Their ultimate mission was to lure the enemy back to their own camp, waiting until the archers were within range. Upon Temujin's command, a rain of arrows was released, and in an instant, countless arrows fell, claiming the lives of both the enemy soldiers and their own cavalry. When their own riders fell to the ground, Temujin felt no sorrow but rather a sense of necessity. Jamukha was deeply fearful of Temujin's ruthlessness, witnessing his own army of thousands being decimated. Faced with such devastation, Jamukha ordered a full-scale assault. The vast army advanced like countless ants marching forward. However, Temujin had a strategy in mind, invoking Tengri, the divine power. He gazed at the sky covered in dark clouds, a storm of thunder and lightning descending upon them. The Mongolians believed Tengri to be celestial beings, and thus, they feared scenes of thunder and lightning. In response, Jamukha's army fell into disarray, their morale completely shattered, while Temujin's forces stood firm as Mount Tai, thanks to the prior training he had given them. Standing amidst the thunder and lightning, Temujin's courage instantly inspired his entire army. As the two armies faced off, Temujin employed a brilliant tactic, triumphing over Jamukha's larger force, and becoming the most powerful tribe on the grasslands. During this time, Targatai, who had once rebelled, was killed by his own men and presented as a tribute before Temujin. Though satisfied with the outcome, Temujin ordered the execution of those who assassinated their master, refusing to tolerate traitors in the absence of a legitimate leader. In the midst of the slave group, he spotted the elderly slave who had taken care of him multiple times in the past. Temujin arranged for his men to gift the elderly slave 100 horses and allowed him to live near his own yurt. According to the original Mongolian rules, all slaves and captives should be executed to demonstrate the Mongolian military achievements. However, Temujin chose to incorporate all the captives into his own army. His unconventional approach and orderly new regulations were crucial factors that led him to his current position. Winning the hearts of the people meant winning the world. In the defeated camp, Jamukha remained firm and unyielding, never pleading with his brother for mercy. He only had one question left unanswered. Throughout his life, Temujin endured a turbulent journey, facing hardships that few have ever known. Thunder and lightning held no fear for him, given the struggles he had overcome. Despite understanding the adage, one mountain cannot hold two tigers, he couldn't forget the bond he once shared with his brother. Hence, he made the heartfelt decision to let Jamukha go. In the end, Temujin's brother, Jamukha, faced defeat in a rebellion that occurred several years later. He requested Temujin to grant him a bloodless death. Ironically, Temujin complied with the request. Subsequently, Temujin conquered other tribes on the grasslands, establishing the first great Mongol empire, earning the title of Genghis Khan. However, this was just the beginning of his grand ambitions. In the year 1226 AD, Genghis Khan invaded the Xia, and though the Xia kingdom fell, the old monk's temple still stood. Unfortunately, during the campaign against Xia, Genghis Khan passed away. He had lived an extraordinary life for 66 years. During his reign and the subsequent years, Genghis Khan and his descendants conquered over 40 countries and more than 700 ethnic groups, occupying 80% of the landmass in Europe and Asia. They slaughtered at least 1 million people. The life of this extraordinary leader, Genghis Khan, resulted in the creation of the largest empire in human history, covering an area exceeding 35 million square kilometers. No voiceover can replicate the charm of the original film. A great movie deserves to be experienced in its full plot. Thank you for your watching and subscribing.